For today's combined mission status and post-mission management team briefing on Atlantis' flight to the International Space Station. With us today to give us all the latest details are Mike Sarafin, the lead Space Shuttle Flight Director for STS-122, and John Shannon, the Deputy Space Shuttle Program Manager and Chairman of the Mission Management Team. And we'll start off with Mike.
Well, good afternoon. We had another good day in space today, the fourth day in the mission of Atlantis to deliver the Columbus module, as well as a number of European payloads to the International Space Station, is progressing well. We're working through a couple of challenges. The OMS pod blanket issue that we talked about yesterday is in the process of being surveyed using the shuttle's robotic arm and the boom sensor system to allow our experts on the ground to gather additional information to determine if Atlantis is safe to come home as is, or if we have additional work in front of us. The computer problem that we talked about that occurred at the start of the rendezvous when we were powering up Atlantis prior to the rendezvous sequence has started its recovery process. We believe that we'll get that computer back. We essentially rebooted that computer yesterday and downloaded its log files for review here on the ground. We determined that it's likely due to a known condition that hasn't occurred for quite some time, but we think we understand the problem. We're going to confirm that through a review of the data logs. And our plan is, assuming we verify that that is the root cause, that we use that computer for the undocking and reentry time frame. We also encountered a medical issue with one of our crew members that resulted in a change to the mission objectives and timeline sequence, and we ended up having to delay our first EVA by a day and the subsequent spacewalk activities. The Columbus module preparation via the spacewalk is going to be deferred until tomorrow. The plan is to go out the hatch and start the spacewalk at 8:35 Central with NASA astronauts Rex Walheim and Stan Love. Supporting that from inside Atlantis and the International Space Station will be our internal procedure expert on our spacewalks, which is our pilot Alan Poindexter, and Hans Schlegel, who is also well trained on the Columbus module task. On the robotic arm task, we are going to have our highly trained robotics expert Leland Melvin. We also completed a number of activities to transfer items to the International Space Station that were flown up on Atlantis. Some of those were in support of the crew rotation that we are performing on this flight. Leo Eilharts is now a part of the International Space Station. He'll be staying up there for some weeks or months now, and Dan Tanney will be returning home on the space shuttle, so they've completed their rotation. The timeline changes that we had to make aren't going to result in any impact to the mission. We've accelerated some activities, including the inspection of the OMS pod that we had set aside as part of our contingency plans for tomorrow, but we accelerated that to today because of the medical issue. Those are all the comments that I have, and I'll turn it over to John.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Yesterday, when we left the mission management team, the decision had not yet been made to delay the EVA by one day. That was made kind of while I was walking over here. So we went back and talked to everyone, and we officially made the decision to extend the flight to a 12+0 day mission. I think that was pretty obvious. That's what we were going to do yesterday, is just insert that additional day as today, and then we would press on from this point with the normally planned mission, and that would put EVAs on flight days 5, 7, and 9. And that's what we're going to do. We also got news at the mission management team today that the mission operations team and the crew has done a really good job of managing the power, and they have the cryo required for an additional day if that is something that we want to do later. We set down the decision point for Tuesday as to whether we would extend the flight one more day to do Columbus outfitting, or if we would take some of that cryogenic oxygen and transfer it over to the International Space Station supply tanks. And so on Tuesday, we'll readdress that, see where we are in the mission, and make that decision whether we would extend a day or whether we would transfer more O2. The TPS inspections, the thermal protection system inspections that we do, are going extremely well. It's the fastest I've ever seen them done on a flight. We have completely cleared the bottom of the orbiter. There are no issues that we're working on the bottom. All of the reinforced carbon-carbon on the wings and the nose are completely cleared. We're gathering additional information on the right OMS pod. There's really no change since yesterday. The team, we went through what process the imagery analysts would feed to the aerothermal analysts, would feed to the structures analysts to come to the final decision on that. So that work is still in front of us. We expect to get all the data we need to kick that off today. There's also a couple of small tile chips around the crew windows in the front of the vehicle. Nobody expects them to be any issues at all. We just have not gotten to the point of analyzing them yet. I would expect by Tuesday we'll have all that work done and be able to completely clear the orbiter. So the team has taken this somewhat unexpected day inserted in the EVA and has made great before the EVA and has made great use of it. Being able to move the focused inspection up is going to help the analysts to get that data a day early. Also, they're changing out a hard drive on a computer to be able to get down the ET umbilical well pictures. So that will give the ET assessment team some time to go look at the performance of the tank. And the earlier we get that done, the better, because of course we process all the time. In fact, Endeavour will should be on the transporter right now, and it will be mated to its tank and solid rocket boosters for launch on March 11th. So as the program keeps moving on, the earlier we get that data, the better off we all are. I got the report on the solid rocket boosters. The right booster is at the hangar where it is torn down. We'll start to take the data and the video out of it tonight. The team's going to stay overnight and do that. We expect to get that information late tonight or tomorrow from the right solid rocket booster. The left solid rocket booster is still at the Canaveral locks area. The winds are such that he can't make the transition down the river to the hangar, so it's waiting until the winds go down just a little bit. Since the right OMS pod is the one where the blanket lifted up, and we'd like to see when that happened, we were a little bit lucky and got the correct booster in first before the winds kicked up. So that was good for us. We're just as a team, we're really looking forward to watching the crew and the ground ops team place Columbus in its final home, and we're very excited about that tomorrow. That's all.
Thanks, John.
In contact with the flight surgeons on the ground, what is passed to the team is what is relevant to the mission execution, and
it would also allow us to stretch our cryogenic consumables a little bit further, and that was put behind us with an EVA that Peggy Whitson and Dan Tani performed in the late December time frame, and they gathered enough information that the fourth EVA wasn't required as part of this mission, and it was determined that the power down associated with it did not need to occur. So in terms of mission duration or fourth EVA, we just determined that we didn't need to stretch ourselves that far.
Thanks. Irene Klotz with Reuters. A couple of things on EVA. The first is if you decide that there is something that you want to do to tack down that OMS pod blanket, would that go in on, do you have an idea of which EVA that would be part of? And also, if Hans Schlegel is clear to do the second spacewalk, how much time does it take to remove, like, Stan Love's spacesuit and put in Schlegel's and then switch it back again for the third EVA?
I don't have an exact time for you on the suit reconfiguration. It would take an hour or two of time, and it does require some finite amount of effort to make sure that the suit is ready to go and to check it out and that it's sized properly, because everybody's built a little different. And yeah, I would just say an hour or two. I don't have an exact number for you.
OMS blanket.